After translating Lisa in French, I needed more content to quench my thirst for more. Thankfully, the community is really big and filled with countless fun games. But there's always that one that is constantly mentioned, and sometimes as much as the original, Lisa the Pointless. And it's not for no reason. Lisa the Pointless is amazingly faithful to the original Lisa, and most people can agree on the fact that it's even more beautiful than the original game. For its short length, Pointless has a crazy artistic direction, and it makes you wonder how can a game like this even be available to download for free. This time around, you don't play as an important character in the world of Olaf. You play as a pointless guy that just meets some man, becomes friend with him, and will strive and struggle to find a better place to live than Garbage Island. The premise is interesting, and the character build-up between the two protagonists is really charming. However, there was a block for me. The game is extremely difficult to a point that it's not even funny, and literally killed half of my appreciation for it. Pointless starts with an obvious reminder that it's a game to be played after having played both painful and joyful, but it's still hard as nails. The items are ridiculously rare to a point that it's possible to get soft-locked, and yeah, I can live with having to be careful with the way I manage my inventory, but this isn't Resident Evil, come on. Resident Evil is more about dealing with your inventory than with the combat system. But Pointless has an even more status effect, even more deadly foes that can kill you in one hit, and the saves are automatic and limited. Yeah, painful mode is obligatory if you play Pointless. I'm fine with the game being challenging, but it stops being a challenge if it just ends up putting you in a dead angle. It's just tedious and busy work. I just don't understand how having the choice between a normal and hard option has an impact on the story or the ambience. Yes, I get it, it's interesting to see how hard it gets when you're just some random character and not the two most important characters in the universe tale, but this reaches the point where it ends up being unplayable. And really, that's a shame, because everything else is absolutely great, and it's the best kind of fun game that could exist. If you're not too put off by what I say, do try it out. It was about time I tried it out. Res Infinite is a rail shooter rhythmic game where you play as this, thing, and lock onto targets and make them explode in rhythm with the music. The soundtrack in stage progresses with every shoot you do, and it gives off a sense of immersion that you don't often see in games. It's relatively simple until you get to the bosses, where you have to be careful if you don't want to restart the level from scratch. The music is funky as hell, and there are some really pretty colors. However, what really caught my interest was Area X. It's absolutely crazy, and you need to get Infinite just for this very short mode. The level isn't on rail and automatic like the original game. Here, you're free to roam around in space with absolutely gorgeous and amazing fireworks as you lock on and rock your head in rhythm with what you shoot at. The music is way more loud and experimental, and I just can't describe this. You really need to play and feel this to get how satisfying it all is. Get a headset or loudspeakers and get into the music. You won't regret it. And if you have a VR headset, this thing should be your top priority. Drakengard 3 was the only Yoko Taro game I hadn't played yet. I didn't expect much from it, considering my mixed feelings about Drakengard and when I heard about it, and I was pleasantly surprised. I love this game. I expected this game to have a dull story and less obscure theme than the first game or Nier, but in the end, Drakengard 3 perfectly mixes up what you know from Drakengard and Nier series with its own amount of fresh content. Yeah, the technical aspect of the game is ridiculous. It's a 2014 PS3 game with a disgusting resolution and textures, an unstable frame rate that sometimes scopes below 10 FPS when it gets messy, but the gameplay is already way better than Drakengard and Nier. It's still kinda repetitive, but at least here you're free to experiment with combos how you want, and it's fun to get into Intoner mode, which is basically Berserker mode, or switching weapons. Blood spouts out everywhere, and it's alright, that's all I could ask for. The game starts off pretty humorously, in a light and edgy way, which can sometimes be fun, but it also tries way too hard to break the fourth wall sometimes, to a point that it stops being funny. But that's until the game becomes more serious and emotional, surprisingly enough for a Drakengard game. As I said, Drakengard 1 has pretty antipathetic characters, while Nier has extremely understandable and lovable characters. Drakengard 3 mixes those two into one to create characters that you should hate but end up appreciating to some extent. But is it really okay? They're literally the worst, but it's also possible to understand them. But they're the worst, so... But anyway, another thing I enjoy is that this game has a shitload of female lead characters. But unlike other anime or JRPGs tropes, they are not blood devices or used for the male gaze. On the contrary, they're insane, dirty, vulgar, liars, perverts, and manipulative, which totally goes against the current trends empowering girls that are either simply kicking ass, just like some macho guy, or being pretty little sensitive ladies because that's what the boys want. Far from perfect, all of these themes, stories are mixed into one messy game that is Drakengard 3. And it's sad to see this game being discredited as this one tarot game that's not as good as the others. It's good, sometimes really good. So if you love Nier or Drakengard, please at least give this one a try. And if you're not, well, try it anyway, but I doubt you'll come out with any positive opinion. And done with August. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to tell me what you played this month, and until now, I'll see you in the September video.